Welcome to the Alsco Uniforms It Pays to Keep Clean podcast. Join us as we spend time with Alsco Chief Operating Officer Jim Kearns. I'm your host, Dana Craig. Let's get started. Jim, good afternoon. How are you doing today?
Good, Dana. How are you?
I'm doing well. So we want to talk about your latest branch visits. I think it was your first set of branch visits for 2025. Is that right?
That's right.
Okay. So in February, you made it out to 3 different branches. Which ones did you go to?
So we first went to Carson City and Reno. Next, we went to LA, and we finished up in Phoenix.
And Reno is one of those that has 2 separate processing plants, right? How far apart are they?
Carson City is about 35 miles roughly from Reno.
Yeah. And then Reno, largely a tourist town.
Yeah.
So they probably have a lot of seasonal type business or business that is at least driven by the tourist market.
Yeah. So I think the Carson City facility, which we bought, I can't remember how long ago. I was involved in the acquisition of that facility. You know, it does hospitality healthcare work.
Okay.
You know, Lake Tahoe's not too far away from Carson City. It's just up over the hill. They tell me it's a much easier drive going from Carson City to Lake Tahoe than it is coming from California to Lake Tahoe. And I think the plant in Reno, it services a lot of the food and beverage, industrial sorts of accounts in Reno and Carson City, that whole area there.
Okay. And so what were your impressions? Did you spend any time out on the dock there?
I did spend time out on the dock there, and I met an RSR named Dion. She hadn't been with us too long, but she was in charge, in charge of her route. She was going out by herself. I think she'd been there 6 months or so. She had worked for one of our customers, and then approached us and said, "How do I become an RSR?" So she was delightful to talk to. I think. I think she could be a model for what an RSR of the future could be. I mean, she had a great personality. My guess is she takes good care of her customers.
Mm-hmm. Having been a customer, she would know what she's looking for, and then hopefully be able to replicate that, right?
Yeah, and so she was. It was nice to spend some time talking with her.
Well, and I love just to hear stories about how people find us as an employer, and we are continuously employing, particularly with some of our growth plans right now with this season. We were busy last year making sure that our service departments were full. So looking at our customers for possible avenues is a great story. Anyone else that you met on the dock or?
Met another gentleman who'd been with us 45, 50 years. Okay. He said that he was retiring. He recently remarried and wanted to spend more time at home. But yeah, this gentleman. And
he was an RSR that whole time?
He was an RSR, right?
That's incredible.
Dion said that she looked up to this guy. He was terrific. Been with us a long time, and like you say, it's a physical job. This guy was in good shape, and so happy for him that he's finally got to the point where he's going to retire and spend more time with his family at home. So, long tenured RSR, kind of a legend, I think, in the ranks there.
That's great. So I know we've had a large new customer, healthcare in particular, into Reno, and maybe they started service late last year sometime. So I imagine there was a lot of conversation around that customer.
Yeah. So Renown is the customer, and so my understanding is they had a terrific install there, and so this customer had been with their previous supplier for many years, a supplier who was not in Reno, so it was coming from California. And so, it's great for us to pick up this large account. In talking with them, it was interesting to find out, the communication that was taking place there. And, I think they have an opportunity to really, provide the level of service that this customer wants. I know there's other clinics, other business that's possible for us
Right.
there. So, this healthcare account, will provide some real stability to that Carson City operation where we've done a lot of hospitality
Mm-hmm.
business, which is very seasonal,
Yeah.
right? And this healthcare account will help, reduce some of these spikes that we've been faced with in the past. So I'm very excited about it.
That's great. And how about the service team that do they have two separate service teams, one in Carson City and one in Reno, or is it a single service manager?
It's a single service
Okay.
manager, but he has two separate service
Sure.
teams.
Okay.
This gentleman was fun to talk to. His previous career was with the Air Force, and he had an idea that I think is interesting. That something that maybe I'm going to talk with our service people. You hear the word, people do route ride-alongs, right?
Mhm.
Route ride-alongs.
Yeah.
But being an Air Force guy, he called them check rides, right? And it's like if you're going out and you want to get moved up to a new airplane or something like that, you get an instructor that goes in and does a check ride with you. In fact, checks off, making
Sure.
sure that you have all the proficiencies that you need in order to move up to the next level of airplane or get the next, rating or something like that. And, I like that idea of our DMs going out on check rides with our RSRs, making sure that they're proficient in all the skills that we need to do. So, yeah, he was interesting to talk to. They had recently, about the same time, gone through a major reroute, and so they were dealing with that. So they have some service challenges. Getting this big account, getting it, making sure that we're providing the right level of service, and then
A reroute at the
a
same time.
reroute at the same
Yeah,
time.
that's a lot to take on.
For sure, for sure.
Anything else about, so our general manager there, Sean Manier, how is he bullish and excited about what additional growth looks like, either with Renown or other customers? What else are
Yeah,
they
I
seeing
think
in the
he's. I
market?
think he's very excited. And look, we get a lot of credibility with this Renown account, so I think we've got opportunities to do a lot more healthcare, a lot more of that type of business, which will help us with the seasonality. But there's a lot of industrial business
Yeah.
in that area. So yeah, he's very bullish on that. One of the things we have to do in Reno is make sure that we can retain our employees, right, and we can reduce the amount of turnover. And that's something that has been challenging in any market that's highly seasonal.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so as we get more stable revenue in that place, it's going to help us in a lot of different places
right.
there.
Okay, so after Reno, you headed to Los Angeles, where you
Yep.
went last year as well.
Yep.
And I think pretty early in the year, did you go? Do you remember when you went to LA
This is
last
my
year?
first trip last year.
It was your first
So
year. Oh,
LA
okay.
two times in a row, first trip.
Were they excited to see you again, or they're like,
they were
oh, this guy again?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they were excited to see us. Sean and his team do a great job there, and I'm I get super energized talking to his team.
Yeah.
Everybody, including his chief engineer, are super engaged
Yeah.
in growth. And as we talked about, their budget scorecard, right? We're talking, digging into lost business. And I got the sense that, our service teams are, they're not losing a lot of business. Like I got that sense in Reno and Carson City, as well as Phoenix. And one of the reasons we went back there is we have two RSMs now in
That's
LA,
right.
because we're really going to push growth. And so it was great to talk to these guys and hear what they were saying. Now, unfortunately, they were down a few SCs, and so they're playing catch up. But it is a great market,
Such
big
a
market there.
dense metropolitan area. Yeah.
And according to Sean and the team, nobody can touch us on quality there.
Oh, good.
Nobody can touch us. In the F&B, and then we're developing a solid reputation in the industrial business with this Haas account. And so a lot of good things happening in LA. I expect to see that business, grow and grow and grow.
So
there.
Sean McGeehan is our general
Yep.
manager there, and he's just good energy, I think.
Yep.
So not surprised that you had a good visit. However, they were just coming off of the devastating wildfires.
Yep.
Talk a little bit about how or if that affected their business, and then maybe talk a bit about the donation that we made.
Sure. Look, as far as I understand, none of our employees were affected by the fire. We do have some accounts that probably will close down as a result of the fire. Not really because their facilities were damaged, but their customers.
Their customer base, yeah.
Yeah, their customer base is gone, right?
Mhm.
And so it's not likely that they'll be able to sustain in the near term. So it has impacted us a little bit. But it's pretty devastating what's taken place there. So we partnered with the Salvation Army in helping them out with their efforts there. They have an ongoing effort. We presented them with a check, and it was a check that was
The big Ed McMahon check.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's some video, or there's some pictures of it on social media, but a gigantic check for $50,000 to help them in their efforts. But just to listen to some of the stories, a guy, a handyman that, does a bunch of work, truck burns down, all of his tools are gone. He is out of business, right? There's not enough sleeping bags to for people who have been displaced, from their homes. And, it just goes on and on and on and on about,
And
how,
things that you don't seem obvious maybe once you hear the story, but you're watching houses burn down.
Yeah.
And of course, that is completely devastating. But these other devastations that can
Yeah.
take place really affect people's economic viability. And
Yeah, and the Salvation Armies, their needs change every day,
Sure.
and so, hopefully this will help them accommodate some of these needs that are changing there.
anything else regarding LA before we head east to Phoenix?
It's I'm going to be following LA, making sure that these growth initiatives take off. We're going to work on a project. They have a very that plant's been around for a long
A minute,
time.
yeah.
And they had some interesting historical photos. It's a historical site, built in 1926. And so, there's a lot of old equipment in there. And so we're going to make some investments in certain,
Oh, not all the equipment's been there since 1926. I just want to make.
not all of it, but
Yeah,
some
not
of
all
it
of it.
some of it appears like it's been there since
That's right.
1926.
No.
But so we're going to make some investments
Sure.
in certain parts of the plant that, will enable us to, continue this growth journey that we're on there. So last time I was in LA, I, ran into a guy that, had sold an account, right? And so he was helping Alsco grow the business. And I think that just seems to continue. Their service manager was new. He's been there for a year now. And so these guys are just coming.
It's infectious, I think, if you
Yeah,
have
and
a
they're
good
coming into their
experience.
own there, right?
Yeah.
They've, I expect some good things coming out of LA in the future.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
So you ended your trip in Phoenix.
Yes.
And it sounded like maybe it's been a while since you've been to the Phoenix plant. Is that
Yeah, that's
true story?
That's true. I don't know how long, but it's been a while.
Okay.
It's been
So
a while.
what were your impressions and how did that visit go?
My first impression was the weather was lovely.
Okay.
It was like 75 degrees, and it's not hard to imagine why people like to be in Arizona in the wintertime. So the weather was delightful. Now I heard about how hot it gets in the summertime, but it was delightful. But yes, we had a nice visit in Phoenix. What strikes me about Phoenix is we were having dinner the night before with the general manager, Corey Reeder, and I was asking him how big Phoenix was, and I knew the answer, but I think it shocks some people that it's the fifth largest city, in the U.S. and it's growing like crazy.
Yes.
And so, look, I have big expectations for Phoenix. I mean, it's an incredible market there. We can do a lot more business in that facility. It's a relatively new facility.
Right.
I remember, being there in the grand opening. It's a big facility. Unfortunately, we've had some equipment problems there that have plagued us over the last couple of years and have made it difficult to stay caught up. But I think we're getting to the bottom of those. But that facility is well positioned to really grow. I was trying to give these guys a vision of what it could look like. I mean, that plant could do $30 million.
Right.
It's not hard to imagine that. It's that big of a market down there. So we need to really take advantage of it.
Did you get a sense that they had appetite? I'm imagining they had for that, but readiness?
I do. I think once they get these equipment issues resolved, I think they will be confident that they can take on that volume. We have a new national sales manager, Cal, that was down there. They have a very energized RSM. We can grow that business down there, and I think they have. I was very impressed with their chief engineer, and so yeah, that in the facility looks good. We are well positioned to grow that business.
Some other exciting things that you had mentioned. One was that they have a low TRIR, which is one of the measures about how safe the environment is. Talk a bit about that, and then employee retention.
Yeah. So look, their TRIR last 2 years is below 2. Okay. Remarkable,
really incredible,
right?
yeah.
And look, that's amazing, right? And so it's hard for me to understand why we've got branches that have 7 or 8
Right.
or 10 or whatever the number. When Phoenix, 2 years in a row is 2 or less, right? And it wasn't always that way, right? And so, good leadership, safety, committees that work have really, changed the culture and changed the environment there. So, that is an indication that these guys are headed in the right direction, not only in safety, but in a lot of other things. I mean, their collections, they've got their AR under control now. Their past due percentage is less than 20%. That's something that wasn't always the case.
Right.
So there are a lot of positive signs.
Some good fundamentals at play.
Basic stuff that Phoenix is doing right, and the team seems super energized there. So yeah, look, I think we've got a lot of opportunity there for sure.
So you mentioned about it's beautiful in February, but July and August may create a bit of a different challenge, both for your visits, but for the employees too. So talk a little bit about some of the things that they've done to kind of.
So one of the most interesting things that they've done there is they put these spot
like a misters,
right?
Yeah.
Like you see at a restaurant when you're sitting
Right.
outside.
Or even walking around Las Vegas, they have a lot of those issues. Yeah.
And so you get this water that brings down the temperature, and so it was interesting. They had a graph that they showed us on their employee retention and when they put the misters in, and there's definitely a correlation between when the misters came in, the temperature went down, and their employee retention.
Yeah.
They also have a great workforce there. They've targeted a African refugee group of people that are very reliable, very dependable, very efficient.
So working with a community-based organization, is that how they got hooked up with that?
That's my
great.
understanding.
Yeah.
And so, whereas they've had retention problems in the past, they've seemed to have figured it out. They don't seem to have those retention problems today like they used to. And so, look, they've got all the building blocks in place to really take off. They've got, a good workforce. They've got a safe environment. They've got SCs that are starting to produce. I think we've gotten to the bottom of some of our equipment issues. And
Right.
so, they're going to be operating on all cylinders, going into 2025. So,
Well, I hope it's full steam ahead for them. That would be
I think
really
it is.
exciting to see.
yeah, it's, I think they, like you say, they're well positioned to be successful and I'm excited. I'm excited for them.
Well, good. It sounds like that was a good way to kind of bookend the
Yeah.
trip then in Phoenix.
Yeah,
Did you play golf when you were done?
No,
No?
we
Poor
came.
thing.
We came back. Corey offered to take me sometime, and maybe I'll take him up on it. But the key there is to think, to think big. It's a big market. It's a big plant. We can do a lot of business
Right.
there. So, I challenged Corey and Bo, and everybody there that think about this as a $30+ million plant.
Right.
Yeah,
And work toward that.
exactly.
And not let, maybe this isn't fair to say, the equipment issues are real issues. I don't want to minimize that, but to the degree that it might limit your big thinking around sales, to me, the equipment is A, a solvable problem, and B, a problem that you want to have to figure out how to
Right.
solve because you've got so much business coming in that you kind of have to, right? Rather than, sometimes maybe thinking, I want to wait until we get stable or perfect or
Right.
problem free, and then we'll go get the business. Well, that's
Agreed.
exciting. So this month is March. You'll be taking some branch visits in March or toward the end of the month?
We are going to go to Shreveport,
Dallas, Fort Worth,
Dallas-Fort Worth, and
Wichita Falls.
and Wichita Falls, right?
And Dallas, Fort Worth is kind of one of these larger plants like you're imagining Phoenix can be.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then Wichita Falls is primarily healthcare.
primarily healthcare. Yeah.
And then Shreveport kind of working in that general Louisiana, and they have quite a bit of business in Texas, don't they?
Yeah, they do
Yeah,
some
just right
business
over-
in Dallas.
Okay, great. Well, we look forward to discussing those visits with you after you make them. And thanks for your time today.
Great, thank you.
That's all for today's episode of the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast. Thank you for joining us on this journey through the world of Alsco uniforms, where we explore the growth and challenges in our industry. Tune in next time for more industry insights, growth strategies, and tales from the field. If you've enjoyed our time together, please leave us a rating and review on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you want to learn more about our services, visit us at alsco.com. From all of us here at the It Pays to Keep Clean podcast and Alsco Uniforms, thank you for listening. Stay safe, stay clean, and we'll see you in the next episode.